Welcome in. It is day 315, and you're speaking with the Meeples Champion. And today we're going to be going over an old classic, yet again. This one is one that you may have recalled me reviewing before. Kinda. I earlier had reviewed a game that was called Phase 10, the Dice Game. Today we're going over the original Phase 10, the Card Game. Now, Phase 10 is a game where each round you have a different mission you're going for. You might be trying to make a straight, or you might be trying to make four of a kind, you might be trying to get a combination of the two. The idea is that you start with so many cards, and on your turn you're going to be drawing and discarding, and you're trying to put together some kind of grouping. Now you're going to have your discard pile, and you're going to have your original pile, and you're going to be going back and forth between these, and eventually, when you finally hit what you're looking for, you're going to lay it down, and you're going to be done. And when you're finished, everybody else in the round gets to complete their final turn. So if somebody has an opportunity to, they could potentially finish as well. By finishing, you're moving on to the next round. If anybody else finishes, they move along as well, and there's no difference. You both are equal. There's no points given for going forward. There are points given for being stuck behind. When you are left behind, you're going to end up getting points based on everything that was in your hand. So you might be able to do something, but you're going to get some points. Those are going to basically be counted against you. It's like golf in this way. The higher your score, the worse. So now the next round comes up and you go, okay, you have points. So you're still in round one. You haven't passed it yet. But I move forward. I'm in round two. So now we're going to go again, and we're doing different things. And it's going to be the same concept. The rounds get harder, so now you have a more likeliness of being held up because the other person has the easier round to complete again. So they might have been trying to complete a run of 4, and now you're here trying to complete a run of 5. And as a result, it's a lot easier for them to get 4 in a row than it is for you to get 5 in a row. So you complete this again, you keep going. The game will end when a round finishes and somebody has finished their 10th round. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because there are multiple ways to win. Technically, the winner should be the person who finished. However, somebody could have been doing really bad the whole game, and suddenly they managed to win by finishing first 2 rounds in a row. And you go, wow, I was on round 9, they were on round 8, but they won 2 in a row, they got to 10, I'm still on 9. They won the game. So suddenly they're the winner despite having been behind the whole game, and because they were behind the whole game, meaning they had boatloads of points. They might have been sitting there on 300 and something points and you had nothing, but they won. But if they had caught up and then you both finished, now you have to go to a tiebreaker, which is based on those points, at which point who has the lower score, at which point you win. So your score matters, but only if you can't take the lead. It's a really interesting mechanic which helps to just define this entire style of game. I mean, the dice game does an interesting job with it, but I still think I prefer the card game to the dice game. That being said, why don't we jump in? Let's talk our 7 categories and see where this game lands for us today. When it comes to the art, I mean, it's one of those complaints I have about these older games. It's just a box that says its name. That's it. Phase 10. There's nothing real artistic about this. There's nothing that stands out. And the cards are the same thing. It's just a colorful card with a number on it. This is no different than getting just an old school deck of cards. There's no theme here. There's no real art here. It's very bland. It's got to be a thumbs down. Your components. Now, I find that when it comes to the Phase 10 cards, these are cards that don't really hold up the standard. Now, there are a lot of different types of Phase 10 cards to get. You're not getting a single box that is all of Phase 10. You will find different versions of this through the years. But the versions I've played, the cards are a little, I don't want to use the word flimsy. They're not a 1, but they're like a 2. They're a little easier to rip than they should be. They're not something that just rips with ease, but it's one where it's like, you could rip these. I've had cards rip on me, and it seems like they ripped a little bit easier than they should have. And if you play this game a lot, they will wear. I just don't think that they put the best effort into these, at least the early games. Now, a lot of this is because these games are from like the 80s. So, of course, a lot back then, a lot of those cards just were not going to be prepped for long term. But even the newer games that I've seen, I can't think of a deck I've seen yet that really to me stands out as being well put together. It's got to be a thumbs down. Your price. It's a cheap game. Maybe you're getting this for 15 at the most, but I think this is more like a $10 or $9 game. And it's a game that you're going to have a lot of fun with. It may sit on your shelf for a couple of years, and then it may get a whole summer's worth of use. I remember having this game not be played for years at a time, and then being like, oh, we have a summer of just playing this every day. So yes, this is a game that to me is worth its price. Thumbs up. Your difficulty. This game isn't that difficult. I think this is one that a kid and a beginner can play. I think this is one that an experienced player, they may not love it, but they can enjoy it on occasion. Even an expert can enjoy it on occasion. I think those two levels are more so about if they have kids or family or friends that aren't into the bigger games and just want to do something simple, or maybe you just enjoy bringing a small card game with you for big car rides or vacations where you want to do something when you're in between events. You know, you're at dinner for a night and you just want to pull out a game to play at the table while you're waiting for your food to come over. Great game to pull out. So for me, I think that the difficulty on this is acceptable. Thumbs up. Replayability. This game's all about replayability. It's about getting this to the table over and over again. You run to the end and you're like, shoot, let's play again. I think I can beat you. You got me again. Let's play a third time. You know, you play this game and you keep a contest of it going. You know, all right, we're going to play this like every Saturday. We're going to play like 3 or 4 games until we eventually have somebody get to like 25 wins. You know, I've done that before. This is one of those games that has replayability enough to throw a little contest of that in there. So for me, the replayability is great. Thumbs up. Keys to victory. So this is kind of one about misdirection at times. You might find that what you're looking for, because there's not just the runs and there's not just the adding up for, 4 of a kind, 5 of a kind. There's also the color combinations. And sometimes what you do is you go, okay, I'm going to misdirect my opponent by discarding a color to make them think that I don't want red. And then I draw something and they go, oh, okay, they discarded like a red 4. And now they just drew a red 7 I dropped. So they're after 7s. Either 7 because they have 7, going for 3, 4, 5 of a kind, or 7 because, whatever it may be. So now this may depend on, obviously, the round you're in, but there's a way to misdirect people. Having especially when you start seeing combos later on where you need to get multiple things, there's a way to throw people's perception of what you need, and by the time they realize what they've done, you might have given a card up you needed specifically for the purpose of you've managed to get 2 or 3 now off of them, and then they suddenly realize, oh shoot, I'm feeding them. So that's to me where there's the keys to victory. But unfortunately, that's not easy. What are the guarantees that your opponent even has anything that you want? So you might be giving a card up to hopefully break even, maybe not even. So to me, the keys to victory, there's a little bit of option there, but it's not a very strong one. It's got to be a thumbs down. Is the game unique? Just the fact that we've already reviewed Phase 10, the dice game, says the game's not very unique. The style of how the game is designed, what you're going for, has already been replicated. Not to mention, when you're looking at a game like this is taking a lot out of a game like Rummy and other games that have straights and runs. So for me, this game isn't unique. Gotta give it a thumbs down. Overall, what do I think? It's a fun little game. It's not too expensive. I don't think you even have to play this. For me, if you know that you're looking for small, short games and games you can play with kids or family that aren't into your bigger games, just grab it, throw it in the collection. Nothing wrong with that. That being said, I don't think this is the strongest of those games. Even though I prefer this to the dice game, I understand that the dice game is a more compact, easier to pull out and play in random places, and a lot more people prefer that game. And I think there's a lot of other card games I would pick over this one to add to my collection for a quick play, because there's other games that I think have more theme to it and are more interesting. But if you don't think this game sounds bad, it's not a bad one to just toss into your collection as an option for those who aren't into the bigger games. Well, it has been day 315. We've been speaking about the game Phase 10, the card game. And you've been speaking to the Meeples Champion. Like, share, subscribe, and check down below in the description. I'll be adding an Amazon link in case you want to get this game for your collection. And don't forget to join me on Board Game Arena under the name The Meeples Champion for friend requests, gameplays. I'm on there every day if I can be. Until next time, I'll talk to you tomorrow.